Father. So yeah, I got
Gaza doesn't have any settlements at all, any Jewish settlements. In fact, in 2005, Israel pulled out all the settlements from Gaza.
No, West Bank. West Bank.
The West Bank, or the proper name for that is Judea and Samaria. Judea and Samaria is the Jewish settlements. Full settlements, the Jewish people living in their ancestral homelands. Why the settlement? In fact,
but West Bank was given to Palestine.
If we make the two-state solution and we give the whole of West Bank to the Arabs, to the Palestinians, we call it Palestine,
and the settlers.
What happens to half a million Jews living there?
What do you mean? They go back where they come from?
Ethnic cleansing?
No, not ethnic cleansing. No, they never. The Palestinians, they never ethnic cleansing you. They never did that.
So what then?
They never did that. Don't forget they are the indigenous people of that country. What happened? Okay, you know, I will tell you one. I have a solution for you. They could stay. Look, I have a solution for you. I have a solution for you. Okay, they could stay there and then have a Palestinian passport. No one says anything to them. That's what your ancestors when they went there, okay, and they had a Palestinian passport. We did not have a problem with them. Okay, they were eating together.
They would give them Palestinian passports.
What do you mean? But Benjamin Netanyahu.
They will give them Palestinian passports.
But Benjamin Netanyahu.
Your first buy land in Area A.
Your first prime minister had a
for an Arab in Area A.
Your first prime minister. Look, your first prime minister, which is your first terrorist prime minister, he had a Palestinian passport. Okay.
Issued by whom?
Yes.
Issued by whom?
Issued by the Palestinian government.
No.
Okay.
By the
Benjamin Netanyahu.
No, by the British government.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
By the British government.
Okay, but
it was a British Palestinian.
British government, but the British they gave you. But the British
it was a British.
The British they assist you.
It was a British.
The British they assist you
using the name Palestine.
Okay. The British assist you, okay, to create your own state.
Yes.
So you're telling me another mean, you know, I need to agree with.
Sorry, hang on.
The
British. Hang on.
The British
assisted us.
Yeah, the British.
No, the British not assist us.
No, they did assist.
They did not allow any weapons in. They gave over the outposts
ship.
to the Arabs.
Look at the 1940. Look at the images.
To smuggle in from Czechoslovakia.
Okay, look at the images. Okay, look at the images. The ship, okay, coming from Europe to Palestine was assisted by the British.
No, the British stopped every ship.
You know, if you see them, if you see them, if you see them in the ship coming to Palestine, okay, to be honest with you, I felt sorry about them. Okay, like a gypsy, they are hungry. They don't even have food to eat. They went to Palestine, they gave them, thank you, they gave them, food, and then gave them houses, gave them land, and said they could stay with
them houses and land.
What do you mean they did not?
A load of nonsense.
Really?
Yes.
What they did not have? They did not have anything. They did not have anything in the first place.
And they bought land.
What do you mean?
They planted olive trees.
No, my family. Part of my family.
Your family did nothing for them.
My family came to this country. Part of my family came to this country and they bought a house, which is normal. Okay, and they bought land. Okay.
That's what
now
the
Jews that went there, yes, they bought. Okay, but they took over. They created their own terrorist state after that.
Not terrorist
yes,
state.
they did.
The Stern Gang, the Stern Gang, Haganah,
there's no
Jewish underground.
Yes.
The Stern Gang, the so-called Stern Gang.
The Polish, the Hungarians, and the Romanians.
Blowing up the King David,
the British,
hanging
not against the Arabs. And by the way, at that time, the Arabs were doing the same.
What do you mean the Arabs? They were there, the Arabs are there. The Arabs, they're there, they have the right to defend themselves.
What are you talking about? Defending against what?
What?
Defending against what?
What do you mean defending?
Against Jews buying land?
No.
Against Jews planting?
No, defending themselves by getting an arms, by weapons from the British government, and rebelling against the Palestinians.
Fighting back.
Getting the machine guns from the British government and killing the Palestinians. That's what happened. No.
I have read first-hand reports.
No. When you went there, the British government.
I grew up reading first-hand reports.
Who was assisting?
The British were against the Jews.
The British government.
They imprisoned the Jewish soldiers in the Kishle prison.
The British government.
They hanged the British soldiers.
The British soldiers.
They hanged the Jewish militia. What are you talking about?
Because you killed 800 British soldiers, that's why.
Sorry?
You killed 800 British soldiers.
800?
Yes.
800?
Yes, it's on record.
In the King David, where?
No,
Where
not
exactly?
just in the King David. And not only that, you hang them and then you booby trapped.
Jews killed 800. I think your
Yes.
numbers are
Oh, come on.
vastly
You have
inflated.
Google. Look at
Your
that.
numbers are vastly inflated.
Okay, inflated.
And that is
Okay,
neither here nor
inflated.
there. There's got
So
nothing
the
to do with
Jews can
Arabs.
fight back and the
But that's got
Palestinians
nothing to do with
can't.
that. Fight back against what?
Against
they
the British.
attacked Jews living there. They did nothing to
Oh,
that.
and Palestinians were not living there?
But why attack your neighbor?
Who?
The Arabs in 1929
They made you welcome.
massacred in Hebron.
They made you
massacred in
welcome.
Jerusalem.
The
No,
next
they
5 minutes.
didn't.
You're still doing it now.
welcome.
There's 800,000 illegal settlers in the West Bank.
Why the
One second. I want
by
to
the
ask
original
something.
people of the country? By the
Jews
original
came and bought land. The Arab neighbors massacred them.
I want to ask something. Can I say something? Sir.
They had a Palestinian passport at that time and they killed them? I don't think so.
You know
I don't think so.
West Bank was given to a Palestinian authority, right? The West Bank was given to Palestinian authority. Well, that was the
When the partition plan,
Yeah, exactly.
no, it wasn't. It was called an Arab state. Wasn't called Palestine. Just let's be clear. There was no Palestine at the time. It was called the Arab state.
So what the settlement
and the
have been?
Arabs didn't want it. And instead of accepting it, instead of it declaring independence, the way the Jews did, the Arabs went and declared war against the Jews.
I'm not the
The
one with
Jews
the table,
fought
I'm
back and they won.
I'm talking about the. I'm talking about the.
declare war and you lose.
I'm talking about the Oslo Accords. Like this. The Oslo Accords.
Oslo Accords were the start of a peace plan. The problem is that the Arabs don't want peace.
I know.
The Arabs never wanted peace. From day one, they didn't want
I'm
peace.
saying West
They
Bank-
want to kill Jews. Jews don't want to be killed.
West
It's a bit of
Bank-
a...
Sir, I'm
Maybe not all.
West Bank-
Maybe not all.
The Arabs, they don't kill Jews, they defend themselves.
Against what?
Against terrorism.
What were they defending in
Against
1929?
terrorism. Against Zionist terrorism.
1929.
Against not
What were they
Jewish
defending?
terrorism, against Zionist terrorism.
What were they defending in 1929 when they attacked a Jewish yeshiva, a Jewish university, a Talmudic university in Hebron?
Which year is that?
1929. Massacre in Hebron. Google it.
This is the first time Israel
No,
was it created. The first day was
worse in that era. But there were killings before and after as well. They attacked
Israel
in
was
Jerusalem.
existed. Israel was existed at that time.
No, there's no Israel.
Here we are. Israel was not existing.
Israel came into, yeah, but the Jews were there. They killed Jews.
I don't think so.
Yeah, there's still people who
The
remember.
Jews in Morocco, they never been touched. The Jews in Lebanon, they
that is
never
also
been
not
touched.
true. That
The
is-
Jews in Syria, they never been touched.
What are you talking about? Muhammad himself killed Jews.
What are you talking about?
That's in the Quran. Muhammad himself killed the Jews. Khayba al-Yahud. What does that mean? Come on, Arabs, don't lie. Be honest. Thank you. He's not lying. He's an honest Arab. Try, learn from him. Learn from him to be an honest Arab. Don't deny it.
Yeah, but because they broke a contract.
Yes. So he killed them. So he killed them.
Yeah.
Muhammad started
One of his wives
killing.
was Jewish.
Your greatest, your prophet killed
Muhammad
Jews.
was- his
So
neighbor
you're saying
was-
they forgot the message?
Muhammad, his neighbor was a Jewish lady. He was looking after her every day. She used to come and throw rubbish in his doorstep. Okay, one day she did not come to throw, her rubbish in his doorstep. And then he was asking what happened to her because he was so merciful and he wanted to check on her. And he tell me, Muhammad,
We lived like Dhimis under your great mercy. I know my grandfather and his Polish neighbor were very friendly. Then the Second World War broke out and they had a chance to kill Jews, and suddenly all the Polish people turned on their Jewish friends. Jewish friends, Jewish neighbors. All you're saying is there were some Arabs friendly with their Jewish neighbors. Great.
Moses went to the mountain Sinai.
Well, the mountain
Okay,
does come to Moses. Moses
for
come to the
40 days
mountain.
for
It's
10
not-
commandments, and he came back. What he saw you doing?
The golden
Worshipping
calf.
golden calf. All of this. And you tell me about the Prophet Muhammad.
What's your point?
What's the point?
What's your point?
What's the point? You don't even have a belief, my friend. You don't even have a humanity. You don't
Well,
even
we
believe in
have
Jesus.
both.
You don't believe in the Messiah. You don't believe in Jesus. You don't believe
We
in
do.
Muhammad.
We do.
What
We
do
do.
you
We have a
believe? You're
belief.
not even in this. You believe in killing. You believe
have a
in killing
belief.
and terrorism. What
Well,
that's what
we
it's
do,
all
but
about.
that is neither here nor there. I mean,
You believe in terrorism and money and superiority.
I don't
That's
think you know what
it's about.
terrorism means.
And apartheid.
I don't think
That's
you know what
it's all
terrorism
about.
means.
That's what it's all
It's
about.
easy
my
to
friend.
call Israel a
Okay?
terrorist state. Much harder to
No,
prove
my friend,
it.
you know what? We're
Much
not
harder
going to make the same
explain
mistake
it.
again to bring in our homeland.
No,
Okay?
you just
and
made
then
the
help
mistake.
you out, and then after that
you
kill us.
just made
We're
the
not going to do
mistake.
the same mistake.
Gaza was the same mistake.
Changed right now.
Anytime
We- now the
you
whole
fight with Israel, you lose.
Now the whole
Gaza was the same
What do
mistake.
you mean?
Anytime time you fight with Israel, you lose. You lose more. You lose more.
If it was not these Arab puppets behind you, then
Gaza was the
if
same
the Arab
mistake.
puppets that were not behind you, they would
Gaza is now finished. It would not have been. There would have been a good Gaza. There would have been a Palestinian state.
You know, your prime minister is living in a bunker. You know what I mean? You know, he cannot even come out from his cave.
What are we talking about?
Because of Hezbollah's, you know, the missiles.
You believe that?
What do you mean believe?
You believe that people is in the street every day?
It's changed right now. Who is on the defense right now?
You believe that, really?
He's to attack Lebanon.
I think you will believe any
He's to
nonsense.
attack Lebanon. You had a green card.
You'll believe any nonsense.
No, you had a green card.
Unbelievable.
You had, yeah.
But I will say yes.
I know about that filthy.
I will say that yes, Jews go. Jewish children go into bomb shelters.
You know what I mean?
I will tell you this: when there are bombs in Israel, Jewish children go into bomb shelters. Where are the bomb shelters in Gaza? Where are the bomb shelters in Gaza? Jewish children go into bomb shelters.
In Gaza, you know what I mean? A horse.
You know why? Because we don't want to die. Where are the bomb shelters in Gaza? Where are the bomb shelters in Gaza?
Why should they have bomb shelters? They should live in peace. Why should they?
If they want to live in peace, they should not
They
have
should live in
shots
peace and in
fired.
dignity. They shouldn't have
Thousands of
Zionists tell them where to
They do not want to live in peace. They do not want to live in peace. They want
Israel has bombed Iran and has bombed Syria and has bombed Lebanon and has bombed Yemen. And they don't want to.
Israel bombed Yemen after the Houthis, and you're pretending that Israel started. You pretend that Israel started. Last 18 years, how many rockets have fired from Gaza into Israel?
Freedom from Hamas?
Yes.
I don't
I'll give you freedom from Hamas.
Freedom from Hamas. You want peace for Palestine?
How many?
Our land and you get
How many rockets have been fired into Israel in the last 18 years?
You're not from the area.
They do not want peace.
You're not from the area.
They do neither are you.
Be honest.
I am.
Neither
No,
are
you're
we.
not.
Excuse
You
me.
cannot claim the whole Middle East as your area.
Fathers
come Arab
was
Jew?
from
You
Palestine
came
like
back to
me.
Libya.
Then you can tell me you're from the land. You're not from the
I
land.
am.
Really? What
Which area?
And which area? New York? New York? What area are you from?
No,
Come on.
about 20 generations.
20
generations there. Okay, so which part of it?
No, 20 generations ago, I was from the
20 generations ago, and you know,
Where?
20 generations ago, you were
Where?
there.
What area?
Who knows on humanity 20 generations back?
We know.
Okay, name me your grandfathers. Go
The
for it.
Jewish people, the Jewish people have always prayed to return to Zion from the moment that we were expelled by the
But
Romans.
that's an idea. That doesn't mean genetically you're
We
linked
were
to the people who were
expelled by the
there.
Romans. We always spoke 3 times a day, and more we prayed to return to Zion.
You can actually trace your direct line to the people who were expelled from there.
For starters,
Of course he does, because I can. I 100% needs to.
starters, I can.
100% needs to. Because you can say, this is my land because my father passed it to me and my grandfather.
You were how?
Because I was, people came and took over my land and said, get out or you get killed.
Was that in context of the war that you guys started?
Hold on.
You lost the
We
war
did not.
out.
We did not.
You started a war.
We did not
in
jump on
47.
boats and
You
go to
started
Europe.
a war.
We did not
You
jump on
started
boats.
a war.
We did not.
tried to
We
kill
had
the
people
Jews.
come.
You lost.
You came
When
from
you tried
Europe.
to kill the Jews, you will lose.
You came
Take that as a message.
No.
Take that as a lesson.
The message is very simple.
The lesson is
You
simple.
are like
You
South
kill the Jews, you will lose.
Hold on. If you
will
think
kill
lost
some,
the war,
you will lose
you
more.
are losing this
And they
war.
will lose
So we'll
again.
see you later, alligator, because you're losing this war. Are you winning
No,
the
no,
war?
they're not losing.
Your economy is
Gaza,
gone. Your
Gaza,
economy is
Rimmel
gone.
used to be a beautiful
Gaza
area.
is
Yeah,
gone.
you're good at throwing women and children.
There is no Gaza.
You ain't even from
There is no Gaza. There is no Gaza.
Listen, my friend.
Rimmel was a beautiful area in Gaza.
You are like the white settlers who went to South Africa and they were eventually lost the war. You know why? Because it's not your land.
It is our land.
Sit there,
You built a mosque
This is
on the place of our temple, on the Temple Mount.
Crusade. The
You built a mosque on the Temple
You are
Mount.
European, like
No,
all
no,
the
no.
Crusades before.
Not
The
a
fact that you
crusade.
call yourself a
Not a
Jew now
crusade.
doesn't change the fact
No,
like
no,
they call themselves
not a
Christians.
crusade. We are
Not
the
your land.
Jews. We are the
If it was
originals.
your land, why did
We
you
are
have to
the
kill
originals.
people? If it was your land, why did you have to kill and expel people?
Because these people went to war against us. And tried to
But they were there, so you didn't have to do that if there was nobody there and it was your land.
Because they went to war.
They went to war. But where were you before
We
you
bought
came?
land.
We bought land.
in Israel.
A whole bunch of
We
Europeans bought land.
Yes.
Listen
Yes,
to what you're
empty
saying.
land.
Empty land.
Empty
But if it's
land,
empty
we
land,
bought
who
it.
did you buy it from?
From the landowner.
Oh, and it was empty
It
and
was
they just
swamped.
gave it. Oh, okay.
No,
And then
they
you
didn't give it.
came
We bought
and you
it.
said, okay, this is
We
my
bought
land
it.
now. You
We
people have to live
bought it.
under our laws. And then people should be okay with that.
You're forgetting the partition plan. You're
Partition
forgetting
plan by who?
by the UN.
The owners. The owners. The British are the owners. The British were
Who is the owner?
occupiers
Who is the owner? Occupiers of what?
of the land. Did they not defeat the Turkish armies to go and take it?
So were
Yeah.
the Turkish army the owners?
Well, they
Who
were the
was
owners at the time because they occupied it. They didn't ask
Then
the
it was the
people living
UN, the
there.
League of Nations.
So the people that were there
League of
had no
Nations,
say.
they had the mandate.
The people there have no say because what? Other people with guns come and tell them what to do. That's your point.
The people there were
Yeah.
not sovereign. They were just
Because
people.
why are they not sovereign? Because they were occupied.
governed. No, they're not occupied.
They were not occupied.
They're
They were
not
okay with
occupied.
people with guns who are not
Again,
there.
occupied.
Can you point-
Occupied implies there's a sovereign country that someone takes over.
Can you
There was never
answer me
sovereign.
this? Can you name any people who are not sovereign in their own land and they're happy about it that somebody else is controlling them? Just in history.
It was not their own land. That is your mistake.
Really? I am from there. It's not my land.
Arabs from Arabia. Just listen to the name even.
Are you for real?
Yes,
My
with a Muslim
parents
expansion.
took the land from their grandparents for centuries.
And before that,
Centuries. We were probably originally Jews and Christians.
No, you were not.
And we converted.
No, you were not.
Just, I
You're
am
the
Semitic.
Arabs.
You don't even look Semitic, my friend. You look white.
Because
I am Semitic. I speak a Semitic language.
So do I.
You do? What's your Semitic language? Okay, and how old is Hebrew? The current Hebrew, when was it made?
Current Hebrew is just a dialect. of
Yeah,
ancient
made
Hebrew.
what, in 1940? Yeah.
It's a new dialect.
Oh, how many people used to speak it
I speak
before?
ancient Hebrew.
You speak ancient Hebrew?
Yes.
The language that just the
pray.
priests use for prayer.
What
Who do you?
priests? We all do. Every single Jew prays.
You're talking to somebody who knows this.
I know this because I'm Jewish.
So people
Come with me into the synagogue. We all speak
So
it.
people spoke Hebrew before 1940 just as a dialect. Which people?
We all prayed and studied in Hebrew.
Okay, so you just knew some prayers, yeah?
We know the words.
But did you speak it day to day?
We
Did Jews in Europe speak Hebrew day to day?
No.
Oh, okay. So this is not.
What's your
My
point?
point is, it's all made
We
up.
didn't
It's
use
not
a
a real
language.
language.
No.
It's just a made-up language today.
All languages are made up. Where's the nonsense?
Not ancient
There was
language.
ancient
It's just
Hebrew that we
made
prayed
now.
in ancient Hebrew.
So you're telling
We prayed in
you're
ancient
telling me he's
Hebrew.
Semitic.
Yes.
Because he speaks a Semitic language and he's genetically Semitic. Which you do not look Semitic at all.
We've been in Europe. We've been exiled in Europe for many years.
So you're telling me
Your ancestors came and they conquered. They came with a sword.
my ancestors-
They conquered. And suddenly you became
there
indigenous.
was a few
You're
Jews.
Arabic. You're
we
Arab.
took the land.
From Arabian Peninsula.
The people that you're talking about that came and
I'm a
took
Jew
it from
from
Rome.
Judea.
Not
I'm a
from
Jew from
Jews.
Judea.
They got to China, they did not go to
You are white.
Or India.
You are European. Your language that you're saying is Semitic was just started 50 years ago. So don't
No.
tell me that it's a Semitic language. It's made up and borrowed
That
words from
dialect was
everyone.
started.
land.
It's not.
From the history,
You're
it was
confusing the dialects.
numerous times.
I
What's the
speak
correct?
Hebrew.
Let me ask you. Your grandfather was born where?
In Poland.
There is a. Thank you. Your grandfather. Where was my grandfather born?
Some kind of doctrine.
No, hold on. Where was my grandfather born?
Some kind of point.
No, of course it does matter.
My
Where did my grandfather get
grandfather was born in Israel, in
Which
Judea.
one? Which one?
In Judea.
Which grandfather?
Levi.
How many generations are you telling me?
20 generations
So you
ago.
know that 22 generations ago, you
Yes.
had a grandfather there.
Yes.
Can you prove
We all
it?
did.
Can you prove it? Because I can prove it.
And prove it wherever you dig any archaeological things, you only find Judean artifacts.
That's not true. Okay, hold on.
We had a country.
The Jews. You're saying the
Joseph,
Jews.
read Josephus. Read
Hold on.
the Roman chronicle.
You're saying the Jews have a right
This was
there
already
because
history that was written down.
Okay, hold on. I am a Muslim,
By
right?
anyone who wrote history.
So I am a Muslim. And
Joseph
Islam.
Flavius.
not understand history. And
I understand history.
Really?
Arabs are from Arabia. They came, they conquered with the Muslim expansion. Yes.
Well, hold on.
It started-
You tell me there were no Arabs living in Syria under Roman rule? They're all Arab tribes. Were there Arabs in Mesopotamia before the Muslims went?
Yes.
Okay, so how can you tell me they just came from Arabia? There were all Arabs there. And where, yeah, exactly, those are our forefathers. So actually, that's awesome. You're telling me the Canaanites are not, they're indigenous. The Canaanites are our ancestors. So yeah, for sure they are. So let me. Okay, that's awesome.
were
You're
wiped
saying
out
that
when
the
the Jews
Jews.
conquered it.
Hold on, the Jews come from Palestine. You're saying, yeah. So
Yes.
who was there before them, or is nobody there from before?
There were.
Who were they?
There were Canaanites.
So
and
then, shouldn't the Canaanites be the ones that get to go back and create a country there?
other Canaanites don't exist anymore.
But they do exist. They just have
No, they
lots of
don't.
different. The
No, they
Phoenicians, the people who live in the Levant, all of those, their
They do not
ancestors and Canaanites,
exist
they did not
anymore.
just get wiped out. They just converted to different religions. They intermarried with others,
They don't
but they
exist.
still exist there.
There might-
You're telling me that you have a right to it, but you're
They do not
European by your
exist.
own
I'm not.
words.
I'm not European. I'm Jewish.
You are Jewish
In
as a
Europe, I was a
religion.
Jew.
It's
I was
not
never
a race.
No, I'm a
religion.
European Jew. I was always a Jew.
Is religion-
We were always separate from the Europeans.
Is Judaism
from
a religion?
Judaism, religion, and
Yes.
ethnicity.
Yes.
It
So
is
you're
both.
saying only
I'm a
every
people.
Jew is related to each other?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And,
So, hold on, hold on.
except for the ones who converted to Judaism.
Oh, okay, hold
but
on,
the
hold on.
vast majority
This is
are
awesome.
descendants.
Are there
I'm a descendant of
are there
Abraham,
Jews in-
Isaac, and Jacob.
Are there Jews in Ethiopia?
Probably.
Do they look like you?
No.
But they're related to you.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Maybe the same way I'm related to them. I agree with that.
Do you have a
No.
problem with that?
Jews.
I don't have a problem with that. I'm probably more related to them than he is.
No.
He is from Poland.
Jews are from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All the Jews,
Uh-huh.
except for the ones who converted.
Uh-huh.
Some of them live in.
And how
in
did they
Iraq.
become
Some of them live in
Africans?
Hungary.
How did they have different genes than
Because we
you?
were scattered. They do not have different genes.
They don't, but their
No.
genes are
They
African
all have
genes, and yours are European, but they're the same.
Some of them have different have other blood come in, other DNA came in because people converted, but the Jews are distinct. My DNA and the DNA of an Iraqi Jew will both show the same. We're both descendants of the
Why,
same
if
people.
if what you're saying is true, why does Israel not allow you to take genetic tests?
That's a bunch of nonsense.
Bunch of nonsense.
Yes.
Go and
It is
show
a
me. Go
it's a
see.
conspiracy theory.
Okay, hold
Israel
on.
does allow.
Do you know? Do you know?
Israel does allow, and the reason is because Judaism has got nothing to do with DNA.
How?
You can convert to Judaism and become a Jew.
Oh, hold on, but you just told me it's an ethnicity.
It is both.
Oh, it's both a religion and an ethnicity.
Yes.
Okay, but if it's an ethnicity, then the DNA should all match, no? If they're all related.
Not because when you convert, but the DNA is irrelevant.
So
You don't
it's only a
prove-
religion when it
you do not-
proves your point, and it's not when it doesn't.
No, I said it's irrelevant for the Israeli laws. For me to become an Israeli citizen, I have to prove I'm Jewish, not by DNA, but by a court of a rabbi, a rabbinic court, just
So how do you know how much of the Jews today are genetically from those descended from
genes
those
don't-
versus people who converted over how many thousands of years?
When you,
not genetic,
I don't know. I don't know,
course it's
but
not.
the point is, it doesn't matter. When you join a people, you become part of that people.
Oh, that's awesome. So if I become a Jew tomorrow,
Which is why I
will I
said
be
the
able to
Canaanite-
go and
yes.
just create my own land there, my
Well,
own
you'll
country?
you will get Israeli citizenship.
So Israeli citizenship will come to me, and then
If you
what
apply-
happens?
If you apply for Israeli
Yeah,
citizenship,
right.
you will
Okay.
get Israeli
So
citizenship.
why don't they just give Israeli citizenship to all the Palestinians living in the
Because
West
they
Bank
don't
and
want Israeli
Gaza?
citizenship.
How do you know? Did anybody ask them?
Yes.
No, they're Muslims. They don't want to
Yes.
convert to Judaism.
There's a lot of, but they don't want to
They-
convert to
some
Judaism.
do,
Why do
some
they have to
do. No,
convert
no.
to Judaism?
Israel is a land for Jewish people.
Oh, so and that's racist because you just said Judaism is a race, right? So
Yes.
you're saying that land is just for people from that
No,
race.
not just for. It was set up to be a land for the Jewish people.
But you just said that I'd have to convert to being Jewish to get
If you
it.
are Jewish, let's be clear.
But if I am not,
If you're not,
Yes.
if you're not, the same way that I can apply for American citizenship,
Right.
it's a process. I might be accepted, I might not. If you are not Jewish, you can apply for Israeli citizenship.
Yes.
There's a process. You might be
will I get
accepted. I have no idea.
You
are
can.
you for real that I would get it? You
Some
really
people-
think that if I apply for Israeli
Why not?
citizenship,
Some people have it.
No, it's not
There are
guaranteed,
plenty-
but you can get it.
Because some Palestinians.
What is the ratio of people that get
Well,
it?
I don't know the ratio, but
What's the ratio of
among the
non-Americans
Palestinians,
getting
a lot of them
American
But it's not based on your
What about-
race.
what about non-Britons?
But it's not your race. If you're Jewish and you apply, you get it 100%,
That is true.
right?
That is true.
So
yes.
is that not a two-tier system?
No.
Oh, it's not.
It's a two-tier system for citizenship.
For
That
citizenship
means you and
based
me-
on being a Jew.
Yeah, you and me.
Right.
I can apply now and get citizenship.
You can,
cannot.
for sure. Why?
Yes.
Because I'm not Jewish, right?
Yes.
So then that means that that land is just for Jews. Is how you think about it.
Not just for Jews.
Not
You
just-
keep,
but-
you keep adding. I don't know why you have to.
But
add
if
these
you
words.
don't have citizenship there,
About-
do you have the same rights?
Yes, Israeli Arabs have the same rights.
Are you sure about that? Are
Yes.
they not Jew-only areas that
No.
you're not allowed to buy in? No?
No.
People, would you like me to show you
Sure.
advertisements that say Jews only?
Sure.
Wow. You want to play this game? You sure about this?
They put one of the
Okay.
leaders on trial, didn't they?
They don't have the same right.
Of course they don't have the same right.
Of course they do. Yes, they
No,
do.
you cannot.
Show me one law.
Some of them are
Show me
MPs.
one law.
That is your
They're
okay.
MPs, they're judges, they're
Yeah.
doctors, they're professors.
You know,
they're
You say that
athletes
it's
on TV.
Let's just use the
Wherever you
same
go, you
argument.
see Arabs.
You say that Iran
What are you
is
talking about?
racist
Of course
against
not.
Jews, right?
No, I don't say that.
Okay, but that's what Israel would say. Israelis would
No,
say
no,
that
no,
Iranians
no,
are
no, no,
anti-Jewish,
no, no.
right?
Probably.
Oh, probably. Okay. So, by your argument, there are Arabs in parliament in Israel, right?
Yes.
Do you know that there are Jews in parliament in Iran?
No idea, maybe.
Yes, there are.
I don't know.
Yeah, there are.
You expect me to know the Iranian parliament?
For sure. In South
What?
Africa, there you go. They still have black judges in South Africa. It
South
doesn't mean that it's not
Africa,
apartheid.
under the law, there were different laws for blacks and whites.
Okay.
In Israel, there are no different laws for Jews and Arabs.
Where does Israel's border start and finish?
On the west, on the east, at the Jordan River. On the west, the Mediterranean Sea.
So between that area, are there people there that Israeli politicians and government control that are not, don't have the same rights as Jews?
Are there non-Israeli citizens?
Oh, but that's awesome that you define it that way. But are they ruled by these people?
Sorry, other
Politically,
people
yes.
here, other people in the UK
Yeah.
who are not British citizens,
Right.
living here,
Yeah.
they have different laws for them.
No.
Yes, they can't vote.
But that's the only law. But can they can they
No,
uh,
they
can
don't
they
actually
send them
have
to
rights.
different courts
They
than
don't-
the courts that British people go to?
No, because
Are there-
there's no military law.
Oh, so your
There are
point
people-
is that
there are
it's
people in the West
okay.
Bank.
Hold on. So your point is
Hang on,
it's
hang on,
okay because
no,
there's military
please.
law there.
Hang on. You didn't ask me what I feel about those people.
That's awesome that you feel about it. You are defending a
you said
state.
that I think it's
Hold
okay.
on,
Yeah, I didn't say that.
Hold on, but you're saying this
Some
is
put
the
words in my
land.
mouth.
But this is the problem with what you're saying.
No, I'm very clear what I'm saying.
How?
It's- You, have to
said
keep
this is
putting
the land
words
for Jews,
into my
right?
mouth.
You're saying this is the land for Jews, right?
This is a land for Jews.
And isn't it as an extension of that thought, the current system that's set up is the natural extension
No.
of this idea? No.
I'll
Then
tell
what
you.
happened then?
What happened is in 1967,
Right.
Israel took the West
Yeah,
Bank back from Jordan,
Right?
because Israel still wanted to negotiate with Jordan, and there was still a question: what do we do with these people? Do we give them Israeli citizenship? Do we not? Do we send them to Jordan? Does Jordan take back? Are we going to negotiate land? That's why Israel still kept a military occupation there.
And how long has it been?
Hang on.
Yeah.
The problem is that since they are sworn enemies of the state, Israel cannot give them Israeli citizenship because you do not take your enemy who says he's going to kill you and give him citizenship.
And so why don't they
that
just
is-
leave?
Why don't the people of the West Bank leave?
No,
Because
why
they
don't
want to
the
leave.
Israelis just
Because
leave?
Israel,
Pull their army
Israel
out.
sees this is Judea. It's ancient Judea. It's part of Judea.
My point. You're saying that because this is the
I'm
land
saying
of
there are people
Jews.
there are people who are living there when we took it back from Jordan.
So-
yes, when Israel took it back from Jordan, there are people living there. There's a problem what to do with them because they don't want to become Israelis.
No.
They hate Israel. They want to kill Israelis.
Right, because
So
they've
what-
killed them for- since
then
1948 and
Israel
even before.
cannot give them Israeli citizenship.
So this is very
There's a
convenient.
problem.
So basically,
problem.
what you're saying is, for whatever rationale you come up with, it is okay right now that there are millions of people that have to live under military rule, which restricts all their movement, all of their ability to live a normal life,
No, it's
all
not
their
the case. It's
future.
their choice.
It's their choice.
Yes.
They said, "Hey, come and militarily occupy me."
No, They refuse to make peace time and time again.
How do they refuse to make peace with somebody who literally says, like you said, this is the ancient land of Judea and I have a right to control
Because
it?
Israel was actually, even now, there's Area A that is entirely controlled by the
Entirely
Palestinian
controlled. I
authorities.
see the military,
Not an
military
Area
go
A,
in
not
anytime
an
they want.
Area A. You're talking
Are
about
you
Area
for
B.
real, man?
Yes,
We
I
all
am.
watch the same news. Do they not
Area-
walk in and bomb? You're telling me Jenin is in which area?
Actually, I don't know.
It's in Area A, like you talk about.
Yeah.
Are they not just going in every day and killing people? Possibly. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Of course, you
when
can see it on the
in
news.
times of war.
So, are you telling me then that it's not under the control?
Why are they doing that?
Don't go around in circles.
No,
Forget
it's
the
not
why.
circles.
Are
It's
you
why.
just saying right now
No.
that they do not control it?
You want me to forget the why?
You're saying it's
because
more so they
they're
control.
waging war from there.
So they control it.
If France were to wage war against
I'm not
against
asking
England,
the explanation
No,
for
but
if
the
it's okay or
explanation
not.
matters. No.
But I am asking you a question. You're
Israel
saying
does
they do not control it.
They come in
Oh,
to fight
so
as much
going
as possible
in whenever you
necessary,
want.
and they go out.
So going in whenever you want and coming out and
They do
killing
not come-
is not control.
No,
Oh, what would be control? Do they control what goes in and out?
no.
The Israelis have no control on what goes in and out of that city. Are you being serious now?
Nobody believes us.
So right now I can just go to Jenin whenever I want.
How are you going to get there?
Exactly. I have to go through Israeli checkpoints. No. Yeah,
That's a border.
I am Palestinian. Yes.
What do you mean Palestinian? Whereabouts?
Nablus.
No, the question here is,
There's still Arabs living in
can I
Nablus.
tell you?
Yeah, because we haven't all been expelled. But what about in 1948? How many? Her grandfather took her dad, which remembers, 6-year-old boy, put him on a donkey and ran with him and his family to Lebanon to escape the Jewish militias that were killing everybody.
Why?
Why? Because they wanted the land to themselves.
Because the Israelis-
Benny Morris,
Israeli-
who is a pro-Israeli historian, by his own words, admits that the Israeli gangs, for a fact, went around expelling Palestinians to
Sure.
create a country.
After the war started.
After the war started,
War
what are you talking
1947.
about? Of course, the war didn't. Did we go and tell Jews to come to
Before
Palestine and say, "Hey guys, we want you to come and
You
create a
don't have
country
to
here"?
tell anyone. It's not
Really,
yours to
if it's
tell.
my land, how?
It's not your land.
How is it
It's
not
not
my
your
land when I
land.
live there and
You are
my
living
grandfather
there. This
lives
is not
there?
my land. I'm a British citizen.
Why is it not your?
Because the crown.
No.
is
Land
my
is not the same as a state. A state is a political entity. A land is the place I live on. I don't need a state to belong for the land to belong to
Exactly.
me.
So
I don't need a
your
state.
grandfather's house
Yes.
was his house.
Yes, and that land
But
that he.
he had no right to tell or not to tell people to come into the country.
Of course he did.
No,
Because if
do I have a right
just-
to tell you to come in? I'm a British citizen. Can I tell you why you're here from Palestine? No, because not mine.
Yeah,
to
you
say.
can through
my
your government.
House is
Yes,
my house.
that's not true because you can vote the government that
I
you
can
want
vote
to
it,
make
exactly, vote
those
the government. But there was no Palestinian government, and that's what we come back to.
that because they were occupied.
No, there never was. There never was a Palestinian
There was,
government.
but doesn't
There
have to
wasn't
be.
even-
It used to be part of Greater Syria when there was a
There wasn't even a
government.
Palestinian identity.
What was it called?
We
before
were
you named
Palestine.
Israel?
There was,
What
we
it
were
called?
not actually. If you look any
What was it
literature-
called?
You
Any
wanna talk
literature
about history,
before
you know history.
64,
Yeah.
you talk about the Arab cause.
That's
not the
fine, but what was the
Palestinian
name of
cause.
the
What was
land?
the name of the land that you took?
The British mandate of
Was
Palestine.
it the British
Of
name?
what? Of Palestine.
Of Palestine,
yes.
So when a land is called Palestine, what would you refer to the people that live there, even if they're not a state?
Arabs. They were Arabs. They were
But
not
between
called
the Arabs,
Palestinians.
when they talk to each other, what do you call
They
them?
call themselves Arabs.
Yeah, that's true. But when you talk to somebody
some were
who's
Jordanians, they were, before Jordan was a country, what did he call the people
but
of
as
Jordan
an
before it was?
identification between them, even
I
the
don't know,
Arabs,
some
when they,
about
of course
the
they would
tribes,
say this guy
the
is
tribes.
Palestinian, this guy is Syrian,
No.
because it referred to the land
Palestinian
that
was
they
not
gave.
a word that was
But it
used.
was, if the word is
was no
Palestine
idea.
for the land,
There was
and
no idea.
everybody says, where are you from? I am from that land. They would naturally call themselves from that land. How does that make any sense? If people came from India, they would be, I'm Indian. Even if there was no Indian state, it was still the land of India. They would call themselves, I'm
No
Indian.
Palestinian identity.
There was a Palestinian identity that was
No.
not political.
Can I
Don't
tell you
confuse the
something?
two.
Yes.
Can I
As
tell
a
you something
culture,
that
of
my
course
father
there is.
used to- My father.
Where's your
mom used
father
to tell
from?
him. From Palestine, of course.
Whereabouts?
From Tabariya. and many
Tabareus,
generations.
what you call Tabareus.
So my father told me, just to prove to you that this is not a religion thing, he said that his mom would tell him that their neighbors were Jews, and they would share food. And if their farm animals came on our land, we would give it back. And if our farm animals went on their land, they would give it back.
But those
my
were
friend has nothing to do with
Palestinian
religion.
Jews.
My
Hold on,
grandfather.
please let me finish. Please
Okay,
let me
sure.
finish. This has nothing to do with religion, I guarantee you. This is about greed and land and Zionism and a supremacy of trying to take our land from us. That's it.
Hang on. My
That's
grandfather,
all it is. It's got
my
nothing to do
grandfather
with
was in
religion.
excellent
We
terms.
welcome all Jews. We
My-
live side and side. We call them our cousins.
But not to come,
We call
but
them
not
our
to come,
cousins.
but
In
not to
19
come,
in
It's got nothing
1929,
to
create
do
a
with
country.
Jews. It's got to do with
1929,
Zionism and it's got to do
in
with land.
1929, that was 20 years before the state. How many Jews were massacred in Hebron?
Can I ask you a question then?
answer the
question.
Who protected the Jews during the Holocaust? Who? How many? Read history.
I have read.
Sorry,
this.
the Inquisition, you
I
mean, the
have
Spanish
read this.
Inquisition.
Yeah,
I have
Who
read this.
protected the Jews during the Inquisition?
And
During the Spanish Inquisition. Who protected the
Who
Jews?
made you welcome?
Are you saying
Yes,
in Morocco that
Muslims.
not well, some
you came
Muslims,
to
some
Saudi-
Muslims.
Where did they all move? All the Jews that are in
We
North
made you
Africa, in Turkey, and even in Syria, they were all Jews
Some-
that escaped
some moved
Spain
to
and
North-
came to
yeah, not- yes.
Arab and Muslim lands. So if Arabs and
Actually-
Muslims are anti-Jews, why would they let them come and stay for centuries?
Just hang on,
What's that?
hang on,
Like that.
hang
What
on,
was the difference, though?
hang on.
Now every Arab doesn't like the Jews.
But no. What is the difference between then and this
I'll
situation?
tell you.
Yes.
I'll tell you. Two things. First of all,
Yes.
just to be clear, there were many Jews who went also to Amsterdam, Netherlands.
Yeah, and they got massacred in 1945. So let's not play that game.
No, we're talking about you come back to 1410.
Not all of them.
What's that?
Sorry, to 1490.
Yeah, and eventually what happened to the ones that went to Europe?
So the Jews from the Arabian countries were also kicked out and massacred.
Sorry, excuse me.
The Jews from the Arabian countries were kicked out.
When
after
did that happen?
1948.
Well, let me ask, when did that
So I'm
happen?
not sure what the scheme is.
No, listen, but
However-
tell me, what year
however-
was that? Because I hear this all the time. What year was that? 1948 to 19... Most Arabic countries, who ruled them at the time?
The names of the
No,
rulers, I have no
I'll tell
idea.
you. Britain. The government was British. Those Jews were not kicked out before
Morocco
the British
was ruled
came.
by Britain.
Morocco didn't kick out their Jews. Iraq, that you're talking
Iraq
about,
was
Iraq
British.
and Area. Yes, they were all occupied by England.
I don't think so.
None of this
Google that.
stuff happened
I'll
until
have
the
to-
Europeans came to those countries.
I'll have to Google that.
All of this happened
Now,
after World
now.
War One because
I
the
didn't-
Europeans came
Now, to
and
be clear-
colonized the area.
To be clear, I didn't claim this was a religious war. I didn't say Arabs hate Jews. I didn't say Muslims hate Jews. But like your good lady says, she's trying to bring down a straw man. However, since we are talking about this, the truth is this is a to some degree religious war because Islam sees Judea, Palestine as Islamic land, and you will never accept Jewish rule over Islamic
Let me
land.
ask you,
And that is the core issue here.
Hold on.
Because they want to make the land only for Jews.
Exactly.
Not only for
but,
Jews.
but hold on.
If you look in the Israeli Declaration of Independence, in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, so this Ben Gurion, the first Prime Minister, we declare independence and we call on the Arab people living here to join us. And in fact, the Arabs who stayed there, were not kicked out and who stayed there, are today Israeli Arabs
And they
with
live-
full rights.
And they lived
So
under
they do not-
military rule for how long? Military law for how long before they took it away?
I don't know, 6-7 years. I'm not
No,
sure.
it's a little longer than that. More
No.
like 20 years.
It was a lot less.
You can go back and check if you don't
Well,
believe me.
lot less than
So
20
there
years.
has been a two-tier system from the very beginning because the idea was
No, just
always that
in
this
the
is
very
for
beginning, not from the very beginning.
From
In
the very beginning.
In the beginning.
when you
And
create
that was a response to the Arabs trying to wipe out Israel.
Can I
Let me-
ask you why?
Sure.
Why do you think a person would pick up a gun and try to hurt another? Why?
What in general, talk about.
If the Israelis came and said, we want to live with you, what reason do they have? What are they fighting back for?
Bad luck, you can.
Like my grandpa, right? Who has, I have a book of paper of this thick of all land that I own in Tabariya that I will never touch. Why do you think somebody like that would want to fight the Israelis? Why? Because the land was stolen from them. It was stolen from
I'm
them.
not sure who these people
I
are.
have land that the Ottoman Empire certified that is ours.
Okay.
Why can't I go there?
It was taken on war.
war imposed on us.
It was, look, the thing-
on us,
my
just like
grandfather-
the Africans in South Africa.
My
it was imposed
grandfather
on them.
had a house in Poland. I can't take it now.
Go deal with Poland.
Hang on. It's not just me. It is all the millions of people who have become refugees in the last 50, 60 years. They resettle, and things happen, you know. I wasn't there.
You honor the fact that you say we lost the war, therefore deal with it.
Yes.
You are losing this war, so you need to deal with it.
Well, if we lose, we will deal. I guess if we lose, we will deal with it.
The Israeli
I guess
economy
if we-
is done. It's gone.
Look, I
They
guess-
can't get Gaza. Look at how many Israeli armies are actually
How
dead.
many kids and women they're killing?
Look,
and they still
I guess-
can't win.
I guess-
Not only about them.
I guess if the Israel loses the war, they will have to deal with it, of
That's it.
course.
And you think that is okay? That
Or
is how
what?
things should be
Obviously.
settled.
That's how. What?
You think that is
I don't
okay
think
to
it should be
settle
settled
it?
by war. The problem is,
There's hundreds of thousands of Europeans got on boats and
I
went
think-
over there and with arms went and took it over. And you
no,
think that is okay? That is
that's a
moral.
lie.
That is a
That is
lie.
a simple lie.
How did they get there? Where they were living
They
before?
got there. They bought land. In
Are there a
1947
lot of Muslims that bought land in England right now?
Yes,
Is it okay for them to coalesce and declare their own country?
they will have a problem with the current country, with the current government.
Yes, like the European
But there
Jews
wasn't-
have a problem with the people that
There
live there.
wasn't a current government.
Why is it so important for you that there's a state declared? There was a government in Damascus who said, this is a province of my country. Palestine was always a province of Syria. So, what does the country have to be does the state have to be in Al Quds? No. Like you said, our state identity is Syrian. Our cultural identity is Palestinian. So what? Does that mean because it wasn't administered out of Jerusalem, it was fair game?
Let's answer on this
Wow.
note.
Okay.
If I can
If
answer
what
on
you're
this-
saying is all makes sense, why did the Jews consider colonizing Argentina and Uganda first before going to Palestine?
They didn't. It was.
And that is not true.
It is-
You can go and see. There were discussions around it in the Zionist congresses.
There was a discussion that was briefly raised for a moment and a half at a Zionist
If
congress.
it was a moment and a half, it wouldn't be recorded in history.
It was because all the minutes were recorded. The fact the word Zionism, Zion just means Israel. It's
No, it means a
no,
land for a
no.
state for
Zion
Jews.
is a synonym. It's in the Bible all over. Zion is a synonym for Jerusalem. We've been praying for millennia
Hold on.
to return to Zion. We pray this 3 times a day.
If there was a true claim to the land, why would you even raise ideas anywhere? I would never raise that. Maybe we should go and create a Palestinian state somewhere else.
The
You know
Jews
why?
wanted
Because
everything.
that's our
No,
land.
the Jews wanted everything, but they were happy to accept a partition.
But you would never accept something that is not yours.
It would better to have a partition than to have nothing.
So this is all about just
No.
a state.
No, the Jews wanted a Jewish state.
Right.
Yes, but the only thing that was on offer was a partition.
It was
They
not
said
on
it's-
offer. There's
it was.
people living in Argentina and Uganda. On offer just means, could I convince the British government to give this to me? Because
Yes. It was a land.
and why
it was
would the
a-
British
it was a
government be able
land-
to do that? Because occupying
Because
different
it was a
lands.
land, it was a people without a state. It never belonged to anyone. It was always a colony
hold on,
administered.
hold on,
We're
hold on.
talking in an era where we start after
What do you
First
mean
World
it's
War.
not belong to
it's an
anyone?
era
I
of
just told you it was
decolonization.
a province of Syria. So clearly there was a government. Was it a lawless land? There were no laws there?
It was always administered by
Right.
foreign governments. It was never sovereign.
But
The
we
Jews
don't
did-
consider Syria as a foreign government. We are ultimately statewide Syrians.
Really?
But we have
So
a
you're
cultural
fighting-
identity as
You're
Palestinians.
fighting for Palestine or for Syria?
I'm fighting for Palestine now because that's the world we live in. That you have to define your states now based on the current reality.
And I want to say something to you. I really appreciate because you are a gentleman. You know
Yes,
why?
I agree.
Wait a minute.
But you're wrong.
Okay.
Wait a minute. I've been listening to you actually. As a Muslim, I don't know anything about Jewish but Zionist. Okay. Balfour Promise, the help of the British, and then Jewish. Originally they wanted to go to Argentina and then Uganda. But I'll tell you something, you sleep on it tonight. Your bad luck brought you to Palestine. Believe me, your bad luck. If I am with you, you take your children, you go back to Poland. 5 years, 50 years, believe me, our Prophet Muhammad said that you will be gathered and there will be a big war between Muslims and Jewish. You will be finished. So you take your children and go back to Poland. You are a nice gentleman. If you are worried about children,
That is your
take them back.
opinion, and you're more than entitled to your opinion.
That will happen because this is a land of religions. Of
Thank you for the
Judaism,
civil conversation.
of Judaism, Christianity,
God is
Muslim.
Jewish.
That's what we believe.
God is
But
Jewish.
I'm not against Jewish. I'm against Zionists who killing those people.
There's no difference.
You're in as a Jewish people. You're making a big mistake. You are a big mistake.
What is Zionism?
Yeah, Zionist is children history. You know this.
No, tell us. What is Zionism? Who said it?
You say you're against Zionism. What does
My
it mean to
advice to you, you're gonna finish. So you take your family, go back to Poland. You're not gonna stay forever. 1 year, 5 years, 50 years. You are not gonna stay there. This is the history.
I
Our Prophet
appreciate
Muhammad
your
told us-
unsolicited advice.
So you are
The
a
way
gentleman,
unsolicited advice is
but
always
you have to
appreciated.
think so many times of staying there.
Okay.
You will not last.
I think this is finished. Stuff. What's going on?